There was real concern in her voice. A girl can't leave her family just because they slurp their soup. Besides, the toilet cubicle had a few drawbacks as a permanent residence. I'm all right, I said, undoing the latch. Mother didn't tell me how the rest of the dinner went, and I didn't want to know. In the weeks following, I managed to push the whole thing into the back of my mind, where it jumped out at me only a few times a day. Even now, I turn hot all over when I think of the Lakeview restaurant. But by the time we had been in this country for 3 months, our family was definitely making progress toward becoming Americanized. I remember my parents' first PTA meeting. Father wore a neat suit and tie, and Mother put on her first pair of high heels. She stumbled only once. They met my homeroom teacher and beamed as she told them that I would make honor roll soon at the rate I was going. Of course, Chinese etiquette forced Father to say that I was a very stupid girl, and Mother to protest that the teacher was showing favoritism toward me, but I could tell they were both very proud. The day came when my parents announced that they wanted to give a dinner party. We had invited Chinese friends to eat with us before, but this dinner was going to be different. In addition to a Chinese-American family, we were going to invite the Gleasons. Gee, I can hardly wait to have dinner at your house, Meg said to me. I just love Chinese food. That was a relief. Mother was a good cook, but I wasn't sure if people who ate sour cream would also eat chicken gizzards stewed in soy sauce. Mother decided not to take a chance with chicken gizzards. Since we had Western guests, she set the table with large dinner plates, which we never used in Chinese meals. In fact, we didn't use individual plates at all, but picked up food from the platters in the middle of the table and brought it directly to our rice bowls. Following the practice of Chinese-American restaurants, Mother also placed large serving spoons on the platters. The dinner started well. Mrs. Gleason exclaimed at the beautifully arranged dishes of food. The colorful candied fruit and the sweet and sour pork dish, the noodle-thin shreds of chicken meat stir-fried with tiny peas, and the glistening pink prawns in a ginger sauce. At first, I was too busy enjoying my food to notice how the guests were doing, but soon I remembered my duties. Sometimes guests were too polite to help themselves, and you had to serve them with more food. I glanced at Meg to see if she needed more food, and my eyes nearly popped out at the sight of her plate. It was piled with food. The sweet and sour meat pushed right against the chicken shreds, and the chicken sauce ran into the prawns. She had been taking food from a second dish before she finished eating or helping from the first. Horrified, I turned to look at Mrs. Gleason. She was dumping rice out of her bowl and putting it on her dinner plate. Then she ladled prawns and gravy on top of the rice and mixed everything together, the way you mix sand, gravel, and cement to make concrete. I couldn't bear to look any longer, and I turned to Mr. Gleason. He was chasing a pea around his plate. Several times he got it to the edge, but when he tried to pick it up with his chopsticks, it rolled back toward the center of the plate again. Finally, he put down his chopsticks and picked up the pea with his fingers. He really did. A grown man. All of us, our family and the Chinese guests, stopped eating to watch the activities of the Gleasons. I wanted to giggle. Then I caught my mother's eyes on me. She frowned and shook her head slightly, and I understood the message. The Gleasons were not used to Chinese ways, and they were just coping the best they could. For some reason, I thought of celery strings. When the main courses were finished, Mother brought out a platter of fruit. I hope you weren't expecting a sweet dessert, she said. Since the Chinese don't eat dessert, I didn't think to prepare any. Oh, I couldn't possibly eat dessert, cried Mrs. Gleason. I'm simply stuffed. Meg had different ideas. When the table was cleared, she announced that she and I were going for a walk. I don't know about you, but I feel like dessert, she told me when we were outside. Come on, there's a Dairy Queen down the street. I could use a big chocolate milkshake. Although I didn't really want anything more to eat, I insisted on paying for the milkshakes. After all, I was still hostess. Meg got her large chocolate milkshake, and I had a small one. Even so, she was finishing hers while I was only half done. Toward the end, she pulled hard on her straws and went, "Do you always slurp when you eat a milkshake?" I asked, before I could stop myself. Meg grinned. "Sure, all Americans slurp."